All right, welcome back to another edition of Melon Capital News. It's going to get started for today, November 18th, 2021, and the time is 3:59 a.m. All right, just before I get head out to work this morning. All right, we see across the board. Look at the futures markets; they're all up across the board. The Dow, as we reported last time, was almost at 36, took a little bit of a dive, but now it's coming back up. All right, S&P, Dow, Nasdaq futures, they're all up as well. All right. All right, take a look at the other, so some little bit overseas. We see the FTSE 100 is down, Nikkei 225 is down. All right, take a look at some of these cryptocurrencies right here. We see Bitcoin taking a little bit of a slight dive. She's down about almost just about $55, and CMC crypto was down as well too. That was a look at the little slide of the cryptocurrency. All right, look at that 10-year bond. 10-year bond is at 1.6040. The VIX is up. The GBP to US dollar is up on some foreign currency trading in the Forex, and the US dollar to the Japanese yen is up as well too. All right. So take a look at that. We'll look at the euro to the US dollar. She's up as well too. All right. All right, so that was from YahooFinance.com. Take a look at some of the financial markets. All right, so that was from YahooFinance.com. All right, let's switch over to some of the precious metals. Here we see the New York, from Kiko.com, the New York spot price. We'll switch down to the world market spot price, which the world markets are open and U.S. markets are closed. All right, this is in terms of U.S. dollars. The gold is taking a dive, silver's down, platinum is up, palladium is down, and rhodium is same as last reported, $15,400 an ounce for the asking price. All right, so we got the few future markets is up, and you got precious metals, a little bit of a mixture here. All right, with three out of the major four metals is down, and one of them is up. All right, and one of them is flat even. All right. So we take a look at that one. That was the world spot price, and this is from Kitco.com. All right, Kitco.com. All right, so then let's get into some news here. We're gonna concentrate a little bit of what's going on overseas right now, because this also affects everything. All right. So as we reported this from ShiftGold.com. All right, ShiftGold.com. Central banks globally add more gold in the third quarter. All right. So the third quarter numbers are coming in. We're now in the fourth quarter of the calendar year. All right. Remember we talked about the calendar year. This is the fourth quarter of the calendar year. They report the numbers for the third quarter. All right, it takes a little bit of time, so it takes about a month or month and a half for all the numbers start coming in. But central banks going this shift gold side have added more gold in the third quarter. All right, so something's going on when they tell you that when Ben Bernanke, remember he was the former chair of the Federal Reserve here in the States, got him to say gold is just a dead relic. You can just keep it, as no store value. Then why are central banks around the world adding more gold? All right, this has been a trend going on, and some of the sites have been reporting this. You know, the mainstream media or the lames, they don't report on this, but here in the alternative media, we report on it. All right, as you see, look, go down. Central banks globally added 69 tons of gold to their reserves in the third quarter, according to data compiled by the World Gold Council. This contrasts with a net decrease in reserves from overall 10 tons in quarter three of 2020. So it went down a little bit, 10 tons, but they're still adding more gold. All right, that means supply is getting tighter and tighter. So when you see they're adding more gold, but it's less than the previous year's added, that means the supply is getting tighter and tighter. The miners are not pumping out as many as they could. They probably pumping out, but the refiners are running 24 hours a day trying to get this gold refined and melted down into coins and bars, so the banks can actually go buy them. All right, so that seemed to be crunching. The numbers are getting worse and worse out there. As you can tell, they can't even get gold anymore. All right, if they can, they gotta squeeze from every supply, or you got a bottleneck between the miners, the refiners, and the gold banks. All right, net gold buying by central banks reached 393 tons at the end of the third quarter. All right, so we got major tonnage up here of central banks buying gold all around the world. All right, don't let them fool you by saying that gold is a dead relic and it still has no store value. They're trying to fool you. They're trying to put the old okey doke on you, and they're trying to get you not to buy, invest in gold while they can buy up all the precious metals in the world. And then when it's time to flip the switch, bam, there you go. You realize you should have bought gold, but you can't buy it because now an ounce of gold is sitting at $60,000 an ounce. An ounce of silver is sitting at about $10,000 to $15,000 an ounce. All right, there you go. All right. So go ahead and get that article. That is from shiftgold.com. All right, shiftgold.com. All right, switch over to another country here. Another country that's been actually beat down. The people talk about it very badly, and because of the former leader Robert Mugabe, who sadly passed away a few years ago. All right, this country has been beat down. Zimbabwe to implement the gold standard with advanced financial technology. All right, we're talking about the QFS quantum financial system. All right, so look at Zimbabwe here. They've turned the corner. They're starting to get their act together. They've implemented the gold standard here. So a nation who people made fun of talking about that's the African version of the Weimar Republic. If you don't know Weimar Republic, that was the German Weimar government in the 1920s. All right. So get into the article a little bit here. All right, Zimbabwe going gold standard with advanced technology, fintech. All right, so they're using the company with discussions in financial technology known as fintech. All right, it's on the rise in the government administrations around the world. While many countries are still pondering the possibility of trials and implementation, Zimbabwe is taking up the mantle and run with the technology. All right, Zimbabwe is now the first country to sign an agreement with Apollo FinTech to host a gold standard currency on its blockchain. All right, so they get into a gold standard here. All right, and it goes how gold was actually has been around for longer than this. All right, since 600 BC, and all of a sudden they came up with the foreign currency. They came up with paper currency, and they went away from sort of gold standard. But you see countries going back to the gold standard here. Zimbabwe is leading the way about going back to the gold standard. So regardless of what you hear about Zimbabwe and their hyperinflation, they're not getting their act together. They're taking control of their country, trying to get their finances enabled, and they're leading the way in what is considered the third world. All right, which is most Western analysts think Africa is a third world continent. But if they're leading the way of getting into the gold standard, then other nations around the world, the continent, should be following behind their lead. All right, so I'm going to get this article here that is from DinarChronicles.com. All right, DinarChronicles.com. All right, so remember DinarChronicles.com. Go get that article. Zimbabwe to implement a gold standard. All right, and so we keeping our actions overseas here. So I'm gonna switch over, and we keep it going here with DiscloseTV.com. All right, DiscloseTV.com. I'm sorry, Disclose.tv. All right, www.disclose.tv. Creditors prepare bankruptcy proceedings against Evergrande. Evergrande, we've had talked about this company before over in the largest giant credit realtor company in the world, or in the biggest in China. And if they go bankrupt, they're gonna take down they crash. They're gonna take down economies all over the world, including here in the U.S. For how much property is invested in there in China, around the world, how many people, how many corporations, including multinational corporations, are invested in Evergrande. All right, so if you got creditors preparing bankrupt proceedings against Evergrande, that means something's going on. They do not they expect a default, non-payment, and the issues, and so hey, that's what's going on with there. All right, let's get into a little bit. The German market screening agency itself is invested in these bonds and has not received any interest payment until today's end of the grace period. Now, the SMA is preparing bankruptcy proceedings against Evergrande and calls on all bond investors to join it. All right, so you got the German company. They're preparing. They're one of the Evergrande's creditors. They're preparing bankrupt proceedings, and we see what's going on here. All right, so if Evergrande fails, they're gonna take multiple markets down with them, including China, here in the U.S., overseas, everywhere. They're gonna take it down with them. All right. Could that be the trigger of an actual financial crash that many financial analysts and so-called experts have been predicting? Not a slowdown, not a tapered crash, but a flat-out crash. All right. All right, so go and get this article data from Disclose.tv. All right, Disclose.tv. All right, and continue with China with Evergrande. We got another article here from Reuters.com. All right, China Evergrande sells entire stake in streaming platform HengTen to ease debt burden. All right, so they're now trying to ease burden. We got creditors preparing to file bankruptcy proceedings against Evergrande. And now to get matters worse, they're having to sell some of their off some of their assets to help pay for their debt. All right, they're trying everything in their power to make their debt payments, and they can't even make them. All right, so that's what it's come to. Whenever you get in so much financial debt, you have to sell off some of your assets to make your debt payments to satisfy your creditors. And some of these creditors, some of the giant creditors in the world, all right, and they want their money. They don't care. They want their money back, and they want it now. And they're forcing Evergrande to sell off some of their other assets. All right, So I'm going to get that article. That is from Reuters.com. All right, Reuters.com. All right, and then we finish up here. We finish up here on searchfordinar.wordpress.com. All right, this is from searchfordinar.wordpress.com. All right, Iraq submits message to join the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. All right, that's the CHIPS. All right, or no, the Chinese Investment Infrastructure Bank. All right, they submit a message to get out of the SWIFT system, and they're not joining the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. All right, this is a big deal. They're moving away from the Western SWIFT system, and they're joining the Asian investment banking system. All right, Iraq's embassy in Beijing announced on Tuesday the Iraq submitted a letter to join the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, while noting that Iraq is in dire need of infrastructure reconstruction projects, especially in the field of electric power. All right. The embassy said in a statement that seen by Economic News that the ambassador of the Republic of Iraq in Beijing, uh, forgive me if I butcher his name, all right, Shores Khalid Saeed met with the vice president of the Asian Investment Bank for Infrastructure, who specializes in affairs and of joining new members. Logar, I'm gonna butcher his name again, Shaknik, noting that an explanation was provided about the steps that will be taken after the document, the letter of Iraq's succession to the bank were delivered. All right, so we got Iraq. They're taking their money. They're moving out of the SWIFT system. They're moving into the Asian infrastructure banking system to get their projects done. They said this is a big signal that people are now leaving the SWIFT system, which is a Western banking system, and they're moving to the Asian infrastructure bank system. That is a major power shift as things are coming to a head left and right. The economic news on stand front. All right. So go and get this article. That's from search for dinar.wordpress.com. All right. Now, I want to thank you for joining us on this edition of Economic News. Please be safe, be sound. Remember, you're your own best financier. You're your own best credit union. You're your own best savings and loans. You're your own best banker. All right, get this message out to the neighbors. Get your neighbors started locally. All right, get that barter started with your neighbors around the community, reach out to other communities. All right, remember, everything is local. All right, with that being said, well, thank you for joining us. Another just making economic news. Be safe, be sound. As we always say, let's get it started.